What causes species to become endangered? Some examples are habitat loss, genetic variation, hunting, and population reduction rates. For instance, the Mexican gray wolves are endangered due to losing their natural habitat, and settlers would deliberately kill them to live in that area. Due to these circumstances, Brookfield Zoo chose to be a part of an international recovery program just for Mexican gray wolves. Mexican gray wolves would have been extinct if it weren't for the help of Brookfield and other zoos that stepped in to conserve this species. As for the armored leopard, they are actually critically endangered, which means they are on the brink of extinction. It's estimated that only 35 armored leopards are left in the wild. This is due to habitat loss and also the armored leopards being hunted for trading of their fur. Armored leopards are interesting creatures because when dining, they take their prey up into a tree called Korean pines or other trees before eating it. Yet illegal logging has taken place, leaving the armored leopard with nowhere to dine. As for being hunted, it is said that their fur goes on the market for $500 to $1,000. Brookfield is helping the species by providing a safe environment for these animals to breed safely, to reproduce more offspring, to be later released into the wild.
It is important for us to know about endangered species, such as gorillas, because endangered species threatens the planet's biodiversity. Gorillas in the wild only live up to 35 to 40 years, which makes them endangered because in zoos like Brookfield they live longer, and it holds the gorillas in a helpful habitat that pursues longevity and a healthy lifestyle for them. Additionally, it's important to know about endangered species for gorillas because outside of the zoo and in unhealthy habitats, exhibits, in other regions of the world, gorillas are exposed to deadly diseases like Ebola and unregulated logging that destroys their habitat. Most of the problems that develop for endangered species like gorillas is through human interference in the species' habitat. For gorillas, Brookfield does not only provide the evidence for educating people on conservation and biodiversity within the species that are endangered, but it also provides that safe environment needed to restore and remediate reproduction and habitat lifestyles for animals like gorillas so that they can lessen their chances of becoming extinct. It is very essential to know about endangered species because the more species that become endangered or go extinct, the more vulnerable the ecosystem that contains those species becomes. Snow leopards are primarily becoming endangered due to herders moving into the leopard territory, placing domestic animals in the path of the leopard, and once the snow leopard kills the prey, the herder kills the snow leopard. Additionally, snow leopards are an endangered species because the area that they live in has prey that is hard to find in their terrain. The population of the prey for the snow leopard is declining, which holds a significant role into the future for the snow leopard. Even though there is not a clear solution in preserving the snow leopard population, the best solution for now may be to conserve their reproduction rates and their ability to survive at exhibits such as the Brookfield Zoo.
How do scientists determine endangered species? In order for a species to be considered endangered, it must have 50 to 70% population decline, have less than 2,500 adults in the species, and have at least 20% extinction probability within 20 years or 5 generations. Some causes of species endangerment are habitat loss, pollution, illegal hunting, and climate change. The Amur tiger is a species most commonly found in North Korea and Russia. These animals live in temperate forests. In the 1940s, Korean hunters sought after the Amur tiger to the point where they nearly were extinct, only 40 left in the wild. Russia stepped in, granting the tigers full protection, and by the 80s, the population grew to 500. However, since then, they have become endangered due to habitat loss. Illegal logging has taken place in Korea and Russia, causing this loss of habitat for tigers and their prey.
What is the difference between threatened and endangered species? According to the IUCN, endangered species are any species that is in danger of extinction throughout all or a significant portion of its range. Grizzly bears are an example of endangered species. There was a time when grizzlies used to be as far down as Mexico, and north as Canada or Alaska. But today they have lost 98% of their population, and there are only 1,800 bears left in certain parts of the country. Grizzlies' main diet is berries, grass, roots, small mammals, and salmon. Grizzlies have such wide range of diet and they hibernate most of the winter. Then how are the grizzlies endangered? In order for grizzlies to freely roam, they need a large area of undisturbed habitat. Their population decline is mainly due to habitat loss. Also, poaching and hunting them for their fur. Critically endangered species are, according to the IUCN, species that face a very high risk of extinction in the wild. Rhinos are an example of critically endangered species. Today, there are fewer than 2,500 eastern black rhinos in the wild. There are approximately 2,500 rhinos left in the wild, and they are listed as under critically endangered. However, there are only 1,800 grizzlies left in the wild, and they are listed as endangered species. Why is that? How come a species that has 1,000 more organisms listed under a critically endangered while the other organism under endangered, even though its population size is much more smaller? What are some things that zoologists such as Brookfield Zoo doing to conserve the population of such endangered species? Zoology exhibits not only help these species by conserving these animals and provide a safe mating program for them, but they also educate people on how to stop such animals from being extinct. For example, stop buying, stop poaching.